79th annual Indianapolis 500 will take place. So it's the start of a big sports weekend, and we are delighted to have you with us. Hi, everybody. I'm Marv Albert, along with Matt Guokas. And for the Magic over the first two games, it has been sparkling play by their two star players, Shaquille O'Neal and Anthony Hardaway. But it's been a case of doing it from the inside and the outside.
Well, Shaq and Penny are more than living up to their top billing. And this kind of production, better than their regular season averages, is creating a nightmare for the Indiana defense. But the big difference has been the Magic three-point shooting. Out of a normal double team, what should be a simple defensive rotation, but two players leave Penny Hardaway wide open. And things have gone so well, Dennis Scott gets credit for a three, even though his feet are clearly inside the arc. And with 14 seconds left, Nick Anderson puts the stake right through Indiana's heart. And as long as the Magic's inside-outside game keeps clicking, the Pacers are in deep trouble.
And for Indiana, the problem has not been lack of scoring punch. What do the Pacers have to do to get back into the series?
Well, the Pacers are certainly getting good shots and scoring enough points. But look at this. They're two big guns, Rick Smits and Reggie Miller, combining for almost 50 points a game. But the Pacers' problem is tempo. They want to score in the 90s because Orlando thrives when the game is wide open. But for Indiana to get a win today, they are going to have to slow Shaq down with a big double team and then hope that the Orlando three-point shooters come back down to earth.
All right, so coming up, game 3 of this best of 7. We'll be back in a moment with the Magic and the Pacers.
The NBA on NBC is brought to you by Red Dog Beer. Bold yet smooth, unusually easy to drink. You are your own dog. By ITT. For 75 years, the one to follow. And by Chrysler Plymouth and your local Chrysler Plymouth dealers.
A look at downtown Indianapolis, and this is race weekend here in Indianapolis as we check out the starting lineup. First for the visiting Orlando Magic in the backcourt. Anthony Hardaway, who has had a terrific series, 14 and then 15 assists. Nick Anderson with some clutch shooting in game 2 on Thursday night. And up front, Shaquille O'Neal, who has been able to dominate Rick Smits over the first 2 games. Dennis Scott, who's been on fire from downtown. And Horace Grant, who has been terrific right throughout the Magic playoff run. And the coach of the Orlando Magic in his second year as head man in Orlando, Brian Hill. Now look at the home team, Indiana Pacers. At the guards, Mark Jackson and Reggie Miller. Reggie with 37 points on 12 of 18 shooting in game 2. He had 21 in the second half. Rick Smits, the center, and Derek McKee and Dale Davis on the front line. The coach of the Pacers, Larry Brown, in his second season as head coach of Indiana. Well, the Dean is with us this afternoon. The Dean in the building. We're joined on the sidelines by Ahmad Rashad.
All right, thanks, Marv. Just when you thought you knew everything you needed to know about Shaquille O'Neal, here is another little tidbit. It's called one of his superstitions. He doesn't call it a superstition. He calls it a ritual. Before every game, he counts 5 seats down from the coach's seat, picks the 5th seat, takes the gum out of his mouth, and sticks the gum up underneath the seat. He said he does that so he can just feel comfortable when he gets ready to play. And I guess the thing that I'm telling about Shaquille's superstitions, I should tell you about mine. Before every game, I just feel good when I can throw it back to you, Marv.
So touching, Matt.
Does not take much to make Ahmad happy.
No, dripping with sincerity. The officials, Hugh Hollins, Bill Oakes, and Ed F. Rush. Only 7 teams in NBA history have come back from a 2-0 deficit to win a best-of-7 series. No team has ever come back from 3-0. And the tech controlled by the Pacers. Mark Jackson met by Penny Hardaway. Rick Smits trying to spin and then set the pick up high. Grant picked up Smits on the switch, and a 3-second violation call.
A little bit of a dilemma today for the Indiana Pacers. They are really concerned with the pace of the first two games. They don't like the fact that they're giving up so many points, 112 on average in the first two games. This is one of the best defensive teams in the league, but they really do not have any answers so far for the Orlando Magic offense.
Hardaway handling against Jackson. O'Neal off a double team. Jackson trying to help out, and Shaquille gets right to it. Orlando with a 2-0 lead.
Well, the Pacers want to continue to come down and double team Shaq. Obviously not that way. You have to get there quickly, and you have to get there with a big man. The problem with that is generally Horace Grant's on the opposite baseline, and that's where Dale Davis is. Tough to double from there.
Here's Reggie Miller. Indiana tying the game at 2. Reggie Miller with the good shooting performance on Thursday at the arena. Illegal defense call. Although the outside official, Hugh Hollins, indicating a travel, and then down low at the baseline, Bill Oakes with the call of illegal defense, and they'll talk it over.
Well, they'll talk it over to find out which happened first, and Hugh Hollins' call of walking, I guess, was the first one called. Here's Shaq holding, waiting, getting shoved a little bit by Rick Smits, and Shaq has walked more than that on many occasions. Just a slight slide of the foot.
Dale Davis getting down low on Dennis Scott, and a holding foul charged for Scott. This arena has not been a favorite location for the Orlando Magic. They have lost 6 straight here at Market Square Arena, including last year's playoff clincher. The Magic has not won here since back in late November. Dale Davis off the beautiful lead to give the Pacers a 4-2 advantage.
Well, on 2 straight occasions now, the Pacers running a set play for Dale Davis. They don't normally do that, but he's being guarded by Dennis Scott, so they'll try to take advantage of that inside.
Horace Grant given the room.
Horace Grant open up top. The reason there is the ball, the Magic wanting to get the ball inside to Penny Hardaway, and that will move Horace Grant up top to get open for that kind of shot, because Dale Davis will come and double team if Penny is in tight on the post up.
Pacers trying to get Rick Smits involved. Eric McKee lost it. Anderson got a piece of it, but the Pacers recover and leads to the foul. Dale Davis headed to the line. Foul on Shaquille O'Neal.
Well, Derek McKee picked up on a switch this time by Scott. An excellent passer, and you saw Dennis Scott's hands down low. Not enough pressure on the ball, and that's how you're able to throw that lob. And once again, Dale Davis finding himself open time and time again so far in the early going here. As Shaquille O'Neal, instead of just going straight up trying to change that shot, tried to block it and commits the foul.
Dale Davis shot only 53% at the line during the regular season, but he has picked it up in the playoffs. Dale Davis matching up for the most part against Horace Grant, and that is a matchup between friends and a couple of former Clemson Tigers. In fact, Davis says that Horace helped recruit him to Clemson. 6-4 Indiana, and the ball back to the Pacers.
Well, first of all, we see better pressure by the Indiana Pacers. Mark Jackson getting up and bothering Penny Hardaway in the backcourt, pressuring him once he gets over the timeline, and that enables Reggie Miller in that case to overplay and deny Dennis Scott.
Well, Matt, it's clear that we did not see the same kind of intensive defensive play the first 2 games of this series on the part of Indiana. That's an illegal defense on Orlando, as opposed to the way the Pacers played against the Knicks.
Well, I think that Knicks series took so much out of the Indiana Pacers physically and emotionally that no way were they ready to play that first game. However, they get off to a 23-5 lead, and of course the Magic came roaring right back.
Mark Jackson. Indiana 8 and Orlando 4. Hardaway with the spin, using the pick from Shaquille. It's a 3 for Anthony Hardaway. Hardaway now 7 of 10 from downtown in the series. This after shooting only 29% from three-point land against the Bulls. Smits pitches it back out. Miller for three. Yes. Pacers 11. The Magic 7.
Well, this is how Orlando was getting three-point shots. A little dribble penetration, draw the defense, kick it out, and you don't expect Rick Smits to be able to do that.
And a foul call being debated for a moment by Reggie Miller, who picks up his first.
Larry Brown has been after Mark Jackson to be more aggressive offensively. Take his shot when it's there. Look to penetrate more because Hardaway does have some trouble in guarding penetrators. Rick Smits looks to be hurrying everything right now, in a hurry to get his move going. However, it turned out nicely for him as he was able to get by Shaquille O'Neal. The defense sucked down, and he finds a wide open Reggie Miller, which is something I'm sure Brian Hill does not want to see too much of.
Reggie's hit his first two, one from downtown. Shaquille O'Neal coming off a game-high 39 points in Game 2 on Thursday, 17 coming in the fourth quarter, and did the job at the foul line down the stretch.
Well, shooting 70% so far in the two games, and you got to give Shaq a lot of credit. He worked extremely hard after the last regular season game. He was working 3 hours a day and night to work on his foul shot to get ready for the playoffs.
Indiana with a three-point lead. McKee brushing by O'Neal, setting up. Pacers 13. The Magic 8.
Well, this is how the Pacers came out in the middle of that New York series when they had been struggling. The rule of thumb was take it to the basket at every opportunity. That seems to be the mindset.
Anderson changed his mind, and Orlando fortunate they were able to get it back. Here's the double on Shaquille. Shot clock at 4. Anderson. Nick Anderson. 13-10 Indiana. Jackson had it knocked away. And last touch by the Pacers.
And no argument there, none by Mark Jackson, and Larry Brown saw it there. The crowd thought that ball was knocked out by the Magic. It was touched by the Magic, but off the hip of Mark Jackson.
Well, both teams off to a hot start. We have not seen any stops here in the early going. Dennis Scott backing Reggie Miller. Goes to the running one-hander and tipped home by O'Neal.
And this has been a big problem for Rick Smits. He is just not strong enough to get his body on Shaq to keep him off the offensive board.
Indiana now leads by 1. They have called for time as you take another look at Dennis Scott with the running hook. And here comes Shaquille beating Rick Smits to the ball and able to slam it home. 5 minutes gone by in this first quarter. Pacers by 1. You're watching the NBA on NBC. Matt, we were talking a moment ago about the difficulty for the Indiana Pacers coming off the intense series against the Knicks and then trying to get ready for this Eastern Conference final set with Orlando. We talked about that with the Pacers' Antonio Davis.
I think it was tough for us. Everybody was, I think, more mentally exhausted than physically. Even though New York is a tough physical team, we pretty much matched their intensity as far as that goes. But mentally, we went from here to here to here, and you know, here we are having to get back up again. So I think it all speaks for itself.
Yes, and that is a point that Larry Brown has been stressing. You saw the turnover by Indiana, but the Magic giving it right back.
Orlando so eager to get out and run. Penny Hardaway, he had Dennis Scott breaking in on the right side, and good defense by the Pacers in transition. And I was telling you earlier about a dilemma. The Pacers like to run at home and get some easy baskets, and they feel they can get them against the Magic, but they do not want to get into an up-and-down, helter-skelter game with Orlando.
Here is Miller. Gathered in by Hardaway, who protects with 6.5 remaining in this first quarter. The Pacers 13, the Magic 12. Anderson on a quick release. And back comes Jackson. Looping to Miller. Wide open for 3. Yes. Indiana 16. Orlando 12. That's the second from downtown for Reggie Miller.
We've been talking so much about Orlando's three-point shooting. The Pacers have not been too shabby. 18 for 36 in the first 2 games. 50%. That's incredible and well above their norm.
Davis switching off on Anderson. Here's the mismatch. Grant with the turnaround on Miller. Very impressively done from good range by Horace Grant.
Well, Horace has so much confidence in his offensive game right now. Normally, the Magic will not run a set play for him the whole game. That was just a switching situation, reading the mismatch, and then Horace really pushed outside his post-up range.
Jackson with the look away from Miller. Pacers with a 4-point lead.
And so far, Shaquille O'Neal picked up an early personal foul, showing a lot of restraint on a number of times. Anytime the Pacers see him, they're looking to drive the ball at him to try to entice him to maybe reach out and grab, maybe force a little contact. They have not been able to stop Shaq any other way. They feel maybe if they can get up in foul trouble, that will do it.
And the outside official, Bill Oakes, with the call on Mark Jackson, his first.
This is one way to get open three-point shots. Transition. Reggie Miller knew he was going to get a good look there. Stopped dead behind that three-point arc.
Hardaway posting up Jackson. Got the step. Missed the reverse. That's usually a shot he converts. Again, Jackson with the look away. Jackson doing a nice job. Eric McKee put it away. Pacers by 6. And Brian Hill looking for a timeout. Indiana has come out on fire. 8 of 10 from the field. 2 from downtown by Reggie Miller. And the Magic calling for a 20-second timeout.
And Brian Hill is furious, and I know why. After that missed shot by Penny Hardaway, both Shaq and Anthony stood in there to try to somewhat jam the rebounder, and really a slow, fast break, which turned into an easy basket for the Pacers, and Brian wants to nip it in the bud. Mark Jackson getting into the lane, the little look away, and Shaq just getting out of the way and giving Reggie Miller that layup so he doesn't pick up his second personal foul. And once more, looking left, throwing right, as Horace Grant avoids any kind of contact and committing a foul. I think Brian Hill's a little bit concerned with the transition defense and the aggressiveness of Orlando.
And Mark Jackson collecting 4 assists here in the early going. He's been a major factor in setting up his teammates. Indiana leads by 6 points. Dennis Scott not being given the room. And again goes to the drive.
And that's a wise thing to do, because teams and the Pacers right now are going to get up into the chest of Dennis Scott, make him put the ball on the floor. And all the work that he has put in that area of the game has really paid off this season for him.
Well, he comes off a 7 of 15 from downtown on Tuesday night. Here's the alley-oop for Davis. And Indiana turns it over. This is game 3 of the best of 7. Game 4 back here at Market Square Arena Monday afternoon will be on hand, starting with showtimes at 3 o'clock Eastern. And game 5 if necessary. That's a traveling violation. Game 5 if necessary next Wednesday night back in Orlando and here on NBC. We come up on 4 minutes remaining in this opening quarter. The Pacers with the ball and a 4-point lead. Smits with the screen. Jackson looking for the shot to the crossover. Mark Jackson with a beautiful move. He likes to call that the teardrop from his days as a New York Knick. And Dennis Scott stepped out of bounds.
Well, the cross-court pass, the first thing Scott wants to do is make sure he catches it, but he's got those size 16s. He often steps out of bounds.
6-point Indiana lead. Al Davis posting up, finding Rick Smits, and he's fouled. Foul on Grant.
Well, Mark Jackson has that ability to beat people off the dribble. Penny Hardaway not bending the knees low enough to get down and stop that penetration, and putting up the flipper over the outstretched arms of Orlando's defense. Dennis was thinking catch and load up for the 3. On that catch, really didn't have a feel for where he was on the floor and stepped out of bounds.
Rick Smits, 7 of 8 from the line in game 2. He was clear-cut most valuable player of the series against the Knicks, but against the Magic, the numbers dropping off. He has been outplayed to this point by Shaquille O'Neal. And Rick usually has done well against Shaquille. Is that because Shaquille won't come out and contest the jump shot?
Well, even when Shaq does come out, that 7'4" height advantage, as Penny Hardaway makes a nice move off the post-up, is very difficult for Shaq to get out there, because if he comes out with his hands up, Smits has just enough ability to beat Shaq off the dribble, and he's concerned about picking up fouls.
Pacers have a 6-point lead. 3 minutes to go in the first. Double team on Smits. The key back to three-point territory. Smits with the rebound. Indiana regrouping. Mark Jackson trying to settle it down. Illegal defense, the call against the Magic. And that is their second violation, which will lead to a technical foul. But first, a timeout has been called with 2:46 remaining in this first quarter. The Pacers by 6. You're watching the NBA on NBC. Looking back at the first 2 games of this series, Orlando scoring 105 points and 119 points. This is a high-scoring Orlando ball club, leading the NBA, averaging just under 111 points per game. Remember, we talked at the start of the telecast about the fact that Indiana has not had any trouble scoring against the Magic. That's not the problem, as we discussed with Reggie Miller.
They want to get you into a helter-skelter game and score 110 points, and we can't play that way, and we've been unsuccessful in the first 2 games trying to play that way. You know, I never would have thought we would have scored 114 points and lost the basketball game, but you know, that's the style that Orlando Magic wants to play, and we can't get caught up in that.
Reggie Miller on the free throw line, shooting the technical foul on the second illegal defense by Orlando. The Magic are averaging just 102 points a game overall in the playoffs, but have really come alive offensively, as the Indiana Pacers have just been so confused on how they want to double team people inside and how they want to rotate and get out to the shooters, and consequently they've been unable to do both.
Haywood Workman has come on for Mark Jackson. 25-18. Indiana with the lead. 2:35 remaining in this first quarter. McKee, and the foul, making contact with O'Neal. Shaquille called for his second, so a quick 2 on Shaquille O'Neal.
Well, the philosophy is evident in this game. Take the ball to the hole at every opportunity. On 2 or 3 occasions before this, Shaquille has been very careful to avoid any kind of contact. That time he stepped up in the lane and had visions of just standing there and taking the charge. But give Derek McKee a little credit there. He initiated that contact and forced the officials to call the foul.
Antonio Davis now will provide a rest for Rick Smits, who does not have a foul. Shaquille O'Neal the other night played the last 5 minutes with 5 fouls, but this an unusual situation as you see Jeff Turner replacing Shaquille O'Neal. He's with 5 points and the 2 personal fouls. Unusual that Shaquille has the 2 and Smits does not have any.
Well, we saw this in Game 7 against New York with Rick Smits. He came out a little bit earlier than he normally would without foul trouble, because once he gets those 2, he's pretty much done for the first half. And I think Larry Brown was aware that Shaq was going to come out in that situation, and Penny Hardaway had a clear path to the basket momentarily before he got hammered.
So Hardaway will go to the line. The acceleration by Hardaway as he saw the opening. A reminder, tomorrow at 3 o'clock, Game 4 between San Antonio and Houston. The Spurs coming back with a win at the Summit in Houston last night. Keane with 41 points, but the supporting cast did not do it. Houston had won 5 straight in the playoffs prior to last night. San Antonio and Houston, Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals at NBA Showtime. Will get it going tomorrow, 3 o'clock Eastern, right here on NBC.
And now that the Magic have a small team on the floor with Shaquille O'Neal on the bench, the front line of Horace Grant, Jeff Turner, and Dennis Scott, Larry Brown has taken this opportunity to go with his 3-guard lineup with Haywood Workman, Reggie Miller, and Byron Scott.
And apparently, Anthony Hardaway complaining about the behind the basket. Fans with the spinning insignia. I know, Matt, I myself am dizzy just looking at it. But then again, I came here, didn't
I knew that would bother you. And the squiggly balloons as well are always unnerving.
It's unusual to see where this request would be made. And Larry Brown saying, hey, they can't spin. Why not?
You can just imagine what Larry Brown is saying to referee Billy Oakes about all the things that go on in the league with. And, of course, they have noise here, the vroom, vroom sound of the Indianapolis 500.
You have captured that sound so well.
Well, that was phonetic. But Larry must be saying all of a sudden we're going to put in rules of what signs and what towels you can wave in arenas.
Actually, I don't know how the officials can make an instant judgment on this type of situation. As you say, so much goes on around the NBA unless there is certain criteria that is established. But usually they just let it go.
Well, here's what Penny Hardaway is seeing out of probably the left eye is catching this one over here, and the right eye is seeing this one over here, and he's probably looking at that basket cross-eyed.
Matt, this is breakthrough, Kellis Lydia, on your part. Mr. Basketball has done it again. Well, I don't think that they have stopped the motion at all, and Hardaway is able to hit the free throw. Well, this will be an issue that will be discussed the next couple of days. 27-19, Indiana. Off the turnover, Dennis Scott able to rescue. We come up on 2 minutes to go in the first. Open shot for Anderson for three. Rebounded by Turner. Here's Grant. Yes, Horace Grant brings the Magic within 6.
Well, this is what happened all game too long against the Pacers. Every little loose ball, every loose rebound seemed to go to the Magic, and they were the more aggressive team, and that's why they were getting it.
Strong move by Dale Davis. Yes, and it counts. And he'll go to the line.
All these players right now looking around, normally used to seeing either Shaquille O'Neal or Rick Smits, the two 7-foot-plus players, and now no size in there at all. Nevertheless, Dale Davis is about 6'11", and he just powers his way to the basket, and nothing anybody can do for Orlando to get in his way.
Foul on Turner. Dale Davis says the shoulder feeling better. The dislocated right shoulder popping out in the series against the Knicks. Indiana coming up with the ball. The hustle by Antonio Davis, but then he threw it away.
Well, that ball took such an unusual bounce, hung on the rim for that extra split second, and Horace Grant mistimed his jump. That's how Antonio Davis got it, but in his haste to get it back out, just tossed it.
Ryan Shaw on the floor for the first time. Handling against Haywood Workman. The hot shooting first quarter. Orlando 9 of 13. Indiana 10 of 13 from the field. Workman broke it up, but knocked it out of bounds. The Magic maintaining possession. They'll have 10 on the 24.
Pacers getting very frisky on defense right now, trapping out near midcourt, trapping in the corner, getting themselves more aggressive. They think they can take advantage of that while Shaq sits on the bench.
Hardaway posting up Miller. Penny Hardaway with 8 points. Pacers 29, the Magic 23. 1:15 remaining in the first. Workman laid by Shaw. Workman and Scott now at the guards. Here is Miller off the pump. They isolate Scott against Miller. Dennis Scott. And rebounded by Dale Davis. 6-point Indiana lead. Antonio Davis getting position, but it's a 3-second violation.
And think that the crowd is confused by that, as I am as well, because Antonio Davis appeared to be outside the lane. It could have been on Dale Davis on the weak side, sneaking in for an offensive rebounding opportunity, and it was.
Good work. Under pressure by Haywood Workman, making Brian Shaw struggle to get it across. 25 seconds remaining in the quarter. Hardaway for Grant. Horace Grant, rebounded by Dale Davis. Indiana wants to hold for one. They lead by 6. Final seconds of the first. Miller for 3. Yes. Oh, in and out. That one deep into the hoop. So Reggie not able to hit on that last second 3. The Pacers lead by 6. Reggie Miller, 4 of 7 for 11 points. He hit 2 from downtown. We'll be back with the second quarter in a moment.
The 1995 NBA playoffs on NBC.
Well, welcome to the Twilight Zone. Those pesky Spinners are back behind the Orlando basket. And the discussion that took place moments ago when the Orlando Magic were complaining that the Spinners should be removed. And we're not talking about the sinking group here, Matt.
Mind your own damn business, all right?
Well, he was telling Horace Grant, in effect, mind your own business, which I think amused players on both clubs.
Normally in a playoff game, you do not see so much frivolity and mirth amongst the players, but Reggie Miller and Byron Scott got a tremendous kick out of Larry Brown and Horace Grant going at it.
Horace trying to get in the midst of that discussion with a suggestion, which was not appreciated by Larry Brown. Second quarter is underway. Here's Jeff Turner. And the Pacers now lead 29 to 25. Haywood Workman remaining at the point guard position. Byron Scott on the floor, as is Reggie Miller. Antonio Davis. Rick Smits has returned. Shaquille O'Neal still sitting it out after picking up his second foul. Marv Albert with Matt Dukas and Ahmad Rashad from Market Square Arena. Pretty pass from Smits. Workman not able to convert. Antonio Davis. Indiana leads by 6.
And the Pacers showing signs of dominating the backboards, as you would expect with Shaq on the bench. And right now, Rick Smits has a tough cover in Jeff Turner, who can step out on the floor well beyond the three-point line and take Smits out there. He won't be able to guard him there.
Offensive foul called on Hardaway. Let's check in with Ahmad Rashad. Ahmad?
All right, Mark, during that quarter break, Brian Hill telling his team that they've been really hurting themselves with too many turnovers. They're not taking care of the ball. And defensively, he wanted them to turn up the intensity in their half-court defense. It feels like his team is playing a little bit timid. Mark?
All right, Ahmad. Orlando 10 of 16 in the first quarter. The shooting not timid. Indiana 10 of 15. A sweep by Smith. That's his first field goal. And the Pacers now lead 33-25.
Well, Rick Smits got to see some shorter players in the New York series, in particular Anthony Mason. But usually he's seeing Patrick Ewing and Shaquille O'Neal, as once again Jeff Turner just spotting up deep. There's no way Smits can get out there.
And that a 3 for Turner. 33-28. Indiana. Mark Jackson is back on the floor. Jackson finding Scott for 3. So Byron Scott hitting on his first attempt. And the Pacers lead 36-28. Shaw backing Jackson, finding Turner. Scott for 3. Yes. Dennis Scott, who has been on fire from downtown, hitting his first of the day.
Both teams with terrific ball movement, and both teams defensively trying to help out so much that that's creating these spot-up three-point shots.
Smits. And the excellent shooting continues at both ends of the court. Pacers 38, the Magic 31. A game of desperation for the Indiana Pacers down in the series, 2-0. Game 4 coming up here in Indianapolis on Monday afternoon. Scott for 3. Scott, that's Byron Scott, who took a hip check from behind and then is being helped up by Anthony Hardaway. Committed the foul, his second.
Well, Rick Smits just able to wheel hard in the lane. All he knew was if he got to that spot, nothing anybody with the Magic could do anything about stopping that hook. And here, with a little quick short fake to the middle and the quick turnaround jumper over Horace Grant.
The NBA on NBC is brought to you by Red Wolf Lager. Really red, really smooth. Follow your instincts. By Toyota and their full line of quality cars and trucks. Toyota, I love what you do for me. And by Gatorade Thirst Quencher. For some, recess never ends. Life's a sport. Drink it up.
A look at downtown Indianapolis on race weekend. Busy sports weekend here in Indy. It's so embarrassing every time Ahmad Rashad gets his hands on the game ball. The man just defaces the property. 9:25 remaining in this first half. Pacers with a 7-point lead. Pacers were hoping that the Magic would cooperate perhaps in keeping the flavor of the weekend. They'd like to see Market Square become Orlando's own little brickyard today, but that has not been the case. Both clubs shooting well. Antonio Davis. Power move by Antonio Davis. And Indiana leads by 9.
Well, Shaq back on the floor right now with 2 personal fouls, and the Pacers want to continue to attack him at the defensive end every chance.
Jeff Turner remaining on the floor, goes to a post up with the left hand. Jeff Turner has been a factor. He's hit 3 of 3, including 1 from 3-point land.
Jeff will talk about that for weeks and months, the fact that he took Antonio Davis to the rack.
His play, but too much on it as Byron Scott had the step, but fired it off the glass. Rick Smits picking up the foul. That is his first. Ryan Hill with a combination of Brian Shaw, Nick Anderson, Dennis Scott. 2 big men are Shaquille O'Neal and Jeff Turner. Shaw for O'Neal. Shaquille spinning his way will not count. Foul before the shot attempt, and that is number 2 on Smits.
Well, this is one of the problems that the Pacers have with Rick Smits, that he'll commit some fouls that he just shouldn't do. The last one at the other end, it was a silly foul on Shaquille O'Neal. This time he pushed him, he hit him after he made the move, and that's how he gets into foul trouble, and that's why Indiana has to double team and help him to try to keep him out of further foul damage.
Brian Shaw drilling the 3. The Magic within 4 points with 4 minutes gone by in the second quarter. Scott guarded by Anderson. Here's Smits. Crowd looking for a foul on Shaquille O'Neal. Scott. That was a 3-point attempt. Rebound Shaquille. And Orlando has cut it to a 2-point Indiana lead. 7 points for Shaquille O'Neal. And the call away from the ball by Hugh Hollins. It's called on Turner. Turner involved with McKee, throwing an elbow.
Shaq getting the double team inside from Mark Jackson, and that leaves his man, Brian Shaw, wide open. The Pacers will not be in a hurry to go out and rotate to Brian Shaw, mainly because he has not been shooting the ball well in the series, or for that matter, throughout the year.
7-0 run by Orlando. Indiana has led by as many as 9. McKee. And Scott with the rebound. 3-on-2 for the Magic. Shaw passed on the 3, got it to Scott. He fires for 3. Yes! What a move by Dennis Scott. He had the look, didn't like it, was able to cut to his right, and was able to set up another opportunity for himself.
And that's not normally what Dennis will do. He will take the spot-up jumper, does not look for that three off the dribble that much, but he was feeling it in transition.
Smith extends the 10-0 run by the Magic, and the Pacers lead 42-41.
And in that 10-0 run, that's exactly what the Pacers do not want to get into with Orlando. They are so effective in transition, either taking that three or opening things up inside for Shaq.
Indiana with a chance to break. Jackson. And broken up by Scott. Dennis Scott batting it away. 18 on the 24 when we come back. A timeout is called. Indiana by 1 point. Horace Grant so important to the success of the Orlando Magic. Signed as a free agent after 7 years with the Bulls, a member of 3 Chicago Bulls NBA championship teams. We asked Horace, does he see similarities between the Bulls and the Magic?
I see a lot of similarities in terms of how hungry we were coming of age in Chicago when we won our first championship there, how bad we wanted it, and how we just matured during the playoffs to get to that first championship. I see a lot of similarities here in Orlando.
Well, the question after the signing of Horace Grant was, is he the final piece for the Orlando Magic? Well, the Magic certainly thinks that is the case. He has been a leader on this ball play.
Well, and it was exactly what this Orlando Magic team needed. Not only his veteran leadership, the fact that he's been part of a championship team, but all of his skills as a power forward was something that the Magic were sorely lacking.
Shot clock at 5. Shaquille O'Neal giving Orlando a 43-42 lead, just under 6 minutes remaining in the first half. Is this too high scoring a game for the Indiana Pacers? I would think this is not what Larry Brown would like.
No, they would like the game in the 90s, even at the 80s if they could get it. That's what they're used to playing, but they've been given so many good scoring opportunities, it's hard to turn them down.
Derek McKee with his second field goal back in game 2. McKee 6 of 12, 16 points. That is his biggest postseason game since the playoff opener for Indiana against the Atlanta Hawks. Indiana by 1. Illegal defense. The call against the Pacers. And that is their first violation.
Antonio Davis putting the arm and the leg in there, trying to keep Shaq a little bit further outside the lane. Shot clock winding down, a half double there by Mark Jackson. And Shaq taking his time and working on that little turnaround jumper, and he shoots that with such a nice stroke.
Reggie Miller is back, coming on for Byron Scott. They triple team. Shaquille O'Neal fires the air ball.
So much for that nice stroke. It felt so good the time before.
Foul on Brian Shaw.
And Shaq pointing to himself, his fault for putting up such a wild shot there, which actually started the fast break. Terrific look by Mark Jackson as he has his head up on the fast break, as he feels he has just thrown something of a touchdown pass to the streaking Antonio Davis.
How about Mark Jackson? That his 10th assist in this first half. Playoff record for assists in a half is 15.
And he's had all kinds of varieties, the lookaways, the straight passes, but he has had so much open floor in front of him, he can be very effective.
The record is held by Doc Rivers and Magic Johnson. Shaquille off the nice lead from Grant. Pacers 47, the Magic 45.
And Orlando would like to get Shaq more on the move like that, where it is hard for people to get their body on him, and then it negates any kind of double team because he's moving and defenders can't find him.
Foul on Shaquille O'Neal, who got in the way of Derek McKee, could not avoid the contact and has collected his third.
Here's Shaq trying to get out of the way, so to speak, but Reggie Miller was kind of underneath him, and Shaq is pointing to the official, said, Reggie rode me into him. Nevertheless, Shaq did make contact with Derek McKee, but give a little credit there to Reggie Miller for pushing him into him.
Shaquille sitting down with 11 points and the 3 personal fouls. Turner returning. Jeff Turner had the stroke, hitting 3 of 3 for 7 points when he came on after O'Neal picked up 2 fouls. Jeff Turner making it back from arthroscopic anterior cruciate ligament surgery, which knocked him out of the playoffs last season. Good to see Jeff back on the court.
Well, I think it's one of the earliest returns from that kind of major surgery, and Jeff worked so hard in the offseason doing double duty. I think he even surprised himself that he was ready to go in training camp.
Trying to do it off the dribble. Now Royals not been getting the playing time because of the good play by Dennis Scott. Foul on Turner. And that's 3 on Turner. Al Davis headed to the line.
Once again, open floor for Mark Jackson coming down on the middle of the break. And this little pump fake froze Jeff Turner, who was going to move out to the wing to guard that offensive player. But that enabled Dale Davis, who was just running right to the rim and taking his position. Another beautiful play by Mark Jackson.
Orlando now over the foul limit, 3 apiece on Turner and O'Neal. Dale Davis 3 of 4 at the line. He has 9 points. Anderson able to get to him. Indiana getting back. Pacers with a 5-point lead. We approach 4 minutes left. First half. The crowd applauding the efforts of the Pacers, but a foul has been called. Foul on McKee, his second.
Here's that last play. Mark Jackson in the middle of the floor has an offensive player over in this corner, but Dale Davis right to the rim is going to be wide open as Jeff Turner frozen in no man's land.
Hardaway one-on-one with McKee. Open shot for Turner for 3. Jeff Turner 4 for 4 from the field. 2 from downtown. He has 10 points, and it cuts it to a 2-point Indiana lead.
And the reason Jeff is staying out on the floor with the 3 personals, Brian Hill needs some offense. He's got Penny Hardaway who can create for himself or others. As Reggie Miller has been open time and time again, coming off that down screen.
Miller with 13. Pacers lead by 4. Both clubs shooting extremely well in this first half. Turner with the pick. So Hardaway's picked up on a switch by Davis. And draws the foul. Looks like he hurt his lower back. Foul on Dale Davis.
Reggie Miller works so hard without the ball on the baseline. This is all set up with a little bit of a pick, a decoy by Reggie, and then he curls up towards the elbow as he comes off that screen with the feet set, hands ready. The gun is loaded for Reggie Miller at every opportunity.
9 points for Hardaway. Terrific start of this series for Penny Hardaway. 15 assists in Game 2, a career playoff high. Game 1, he had 14 assists. Indiana leads 52-50. Orlando 20 of 31 from the field. Indiana 19 of 30. Both teams over 60% shooting. Jackson for 3. And kept alive by the Pacers. Traveling violation on Miller. Reggie disagreeing with the call. Timeout is taken. We'll be back in a moment.
Coming up on the Prudential Halftime Report, we'll look in on the Western Conference Finals between the Spurs and Rockets. Houston leading that series 2-1 after San Antonio made it 3 straight for the road teams with a 107-102 win last night at the Summit. And we'll get the comments of Julius Erving and Peter Bessie on the first half of the Magic and Pacers. Indiana leads it by 2 as we head back to Market Square to rejoin Marv, Matt, and Ahmad.
Hard Bob a moment ago. Reggie Miller called for a travel, did not like the call, but take a look at the replay.
Well, the left foot is his pivot foot, and it just moved more than enough, 2 or 3 inches. Horace Grant had the call all the way, as did referee Eddie Rush. Reggie Miller probably didn't even realize he did it because he does it so often.
Pacers 52 and the Magic 50. 2 2:35 remaining in the first half. Royal able to recover, and a foul is called. Donald Royal took a shot in the nose. Foul on McKee. Derek McKee, who was in foul difficulty right throughout the series against the Knicks, in fact fouled out of 2 of the games, picks up his third.
Well, Donald Royal's been unable to get very much playing time. He came off that sore ankle, never got into the flow in any of the earlier playoff series, and mainly because of his inability to consistently knock down open jump shots, although I thought he improved in that area the last couple of years from about 15, 16 feet, but not shooting the ball well with all the double teams on Shaq, and that's where he had the problems. There you see the statistics in the playoffs compared to the regular season. So Donald Royal has not gotten much playing time, and he's a guy who normally will give you 20 to 30 minutes, whether it's starting or coming off the bench, and he's an effective defensive player.
And a guy you want going to the line. He usually has many free throw opportunities. Shoots 75% from the foul line. It was tied at 52. Orlando getting back into it, down by as many as 9. They have a 10-0 run, sparked by the shooting of Jeff Turner. Sam Mitchell has come on for Derek McKee. Mitchell on the floor for the first time. And illegal defense against the Magic. Technical foul for Indiana.
Well, the Magic have been jumpy all afternoon long on defense, so aware and so ready to help out in every situation that when their man is up above the tip of the circle, they are sliding on down below that free throw line, and the officials have been quick to call it.
Dennis Scott. Indiana by 1. Dennis Scott replacing Donald Royal. Larry Brown has Dale Davis, Antonio Davis, and Sam Mitchell on the forward line. Reggie Miller and Mark Jackson in the backcourt. Antonio Davis taking that lead from Sam Mitchell, and a holding foul call against the Magic. They are over the limit. Horace Grant picks up his second.
Now this is a serious post-up by Antonio Davis, riding one of the best defensive players in basketball right up the lane, and that's what created that space. Penny Hardaway timed it beautifully to come over and help out, but Antonio Davis using that back so effectively to ride Horace Grant up the lane. We have the 2 forwards on the second-team all-defensive team in Horace Grant and Derek McKee in this series.
Antonio Davis only a 67% free throw shooter during the regular season. He's hit his first 2. Indiana going to the line now for a 16th time. Pacers 54. The Magic 52 with just under 2 minutes remaining in the first half. Hardaway plays the lead and then pops it back out. Open shot for Anderson, passed it up, and now called for the foul, offensive foul. Trying to put the brakes on and then extended the arm.
Well, Dale Davis in a little bit of a mismatch here guarding the smaller, quicker Nick Anderson. Does a good job of moving his feet, and the extended right arm of Nick Anderson, the little shove, and then a good acting job by Dale Davis to take that charge.
Mark Jackson with 10 assists in this first half. Reggie Miller. And here comes Penny Hardaway. Very tough matchup for Mark Jackson now. A switch as Dale Davis comes over, and Jackson is playing Anderson. Shot clock is at 10. Set play for the Magic as Hardaway takes it to the hoop. And the foul is called.
Well, once again, Dale Davis, oddly enough, had Penny Hardaway under control as he's playing some terrific defense. Penny Hardaway checking out where all the help could come from, checking the shot clock, as now we find the Magic with Shaquille O'Neal on the bench with 3 personal fouls. They're a little bit concerned about tempo and pacing, as they do not necessarily want to get in and up and down. I think both coaches are going to go into the halftime kind of scratching their heads, as both shooting over 60%, but we're basically tied here, and that's a little bit disconcerting. Penny Hardaway getting the scoring done, and look at those assists, close to 15 a game. Still having some problems with the turnovers, averaging 4 a game.
Game is It's tied at 54. Hardaway with 2 assists in the first half this afternoon. 1 minute to go. First half. Scott off the dribble. He beat Royal, and he drew the foul. Byron Scott in his 12th NBA season. Out of Arizona State after 10 years with the Los Angeles Lakers, signed as a free agent with the Pacers last December. A member of 3 Laker championship teams. He's on the line for the first time.
Byron never really got it going in the New York series. Had to feel very good in the first playoff game of this series, getting 18 points, and that's why you see that 14.5 over the 2-game series. But you see the problems he was having as the shots weren't going down. He was committing a lot of walking violations, and Larry Brown has a lot of confidence in Byron Scott. Did such a terrific job for the Pacers all last year and this year during the regular season, and expects big things from him in these playoffs.
Pacers by 1 with just under 1 minute remaining in the half. Shot clock at 8. Royal. Nice ball by Donald Royal, who's getting into the flow, getting some playing time here in the second quarter. Minute to go in the half. Quick release by Miller. On the back tap. A new 24 for the Pacers.
Well, Reggie was thinking a 2-for-1 situation that looked like a bad shot on the surface, but Reggie just wanted to get one up there, hopefully a 3, and worked out in the Pacers' favor as they get the second shot opportunity and the last shot of the second quarter.
2-second differential between the game clock and the 24. Shot clock at 1. Jackson off. Let's see what the call is. The officials checking with each other. Hugh Hollins, the outside man, saying a deflection. 2 2/10 seconds remaining in this first half. He was indicating a deflection, but I'm not certain of which team he's claiming deflected it out. Well, he's now saying deflected out by the Pacers, and he goes over to explain to Larry Brown. So it will be Orlando ball, 2 2/10 seconds to go in the half. Orlando with a 1-point lead.
Well, the question was whether or not the ball hit the rim before the shot clock buzzer went off, and this is what Hugh Hollins is trying to determine here. Larry Brown was asking for a jump ball situation, but Hugh has ruled it's Orlando ball.
Well, he's saying 24-second violation. Here's Hardaway firing. So that was the indication of the deflection, and he called a 24-second violation. So that's the way the first half concludes. The Magic with a 1-point lead. Reggie Miller leading Indiana with 14 points. Penny Hardaway with 12. Shaquille O'Neal 11. Jeff Turner off the bench for 10. Coming up, the Prudential halftime report with Bob after this. Second half in a moment. Back in Indianapolis, Marv Albert, Matt Kukas, and Ahmad Rashad as we get set for the third quarter. Look at the leading scorers in the first half. Penny Hardaway with 12. Shaquille O'Neal in limited time with 11. And Jeff Turner off the bench, 11 points. And his 10 points in his 12 minutes of play. His career playoff high is 11. Reggie Miller with 5 of 10 from the field, 2 of 6 from downtown for 14. Dale Davis with 9. And 8 apiece for McKee, Smits, and Antonio Davis. So the third quarter is underway. Orlando ball. Hardaway, Anderson, Scott, O'Neal, and Grant on the floor for the Magic, and you hear the reaction as Rick Smits was called for the hand check. That's his third foul.
Well, Rick Smits got away with one of these earlier in the first half. Just a little ride out the bent elbow, but it is extended away from his arm. And this is the way they have called post defense all season long. It's not all that popular, but they're trying to keep things cleaned up in the middle.
3 apiece on Smits and O'Neal. Here's Scott for 3, and rebounded by Dale Davis. Jackson and Miller at the guards. Smits, McKee, and Dale Davis up front. Davis guarded by Anderson. Dale Davis. Rebound tipped by Rick Smits. 10 points for Smits. Indiana recaptures the lead.
A good move by Rick Smits to clear the area for Davis and move up to the free throw line area to draw Shaq a little bit away and enable the shot go up and then the follow-up.
O'Neal. Orlando looking for a foul call on that one. Jackson's pass picked off by Grant.
Well, Mark had 11 assists in that first half, only 2 turnovers, but too much congestion underneath the basket on that trip.
Hardaway backing Jackson. Shot clock at 7. O'Neal wanted to travel. Kept alive by Hardaway. Here's Scott from straight away. Yes. Dennis Scott knocking down the 3. He has 11. That's his 3rd from downtown. The Magic up by 2 points. Smits ties the game at 59.
And Rick had his mind made up before that ball even got into his hands. He has decided he's going to make his move quickly before the double team can help him coming up.
Travel violation.
Rick Smits moving up to that free throw line area, drawing Shaq just a little bit away, and as Shaq turns his head, nobody on Rick Smits for the easy tip-in, and on this catch, it's catch and go before anybody can come. Horace Grant was on his way, but he blew by both Grant and O'Neal.
Hayward Workman has replaced Mark Jackson. Game is tied at 59. We're early in the 3rd. Davis working against the shorter man. Dennis Scott did not work. Scott comes up with the ball. Leading Hardaway for O'Neal. Shaq with 13. The Magic up by 2.
Shaq's been doing that so well, running the middle of the floor in transition situations, and that frightens every other team in the NBA. Very difficult, if not impossible, to defense that, especially when you have Hardaway delivering.
McKee shooting the 3. Derek McKee giving Indiana a 62-61 lead. So the strong shooting continuing here at the start of the 3rd quarter. Shaquille O'Neal getting possession but not able to convert. Workman. The stop. Stopped by O'Neal. You hear the reaction of the crowd looking for a foul on Shaquille O'Neal.
Well, that's the way Reggie came out and started the ball game, looking to take the ball to the basket, obviously trying to draw the foul on Shaq as Nick Anderson spotted up as Miller arguing with the officials, late getting back on defense, and that enabled Anderson to get open.
Nick Anderson had been quiet. He has only 5 points. He's given the Magic a 64-62 lead. And now the foul on Shaquille O'Neal, who has been very aggressive here in the 3rd quarter. That is number 4.
I thought in the 2nd quarter, Reggie was settling for too many jump shots. Now he's thinking, go to the basket, draw the foul. Just threw it up there in an obvious attempt to make contact with Shaq, and he did. Probably should have been a foul call, but by arguing with the official, late getting back, Nick Anderson got an easy look at a 3.
And now Brian Hill is going with Tree Rollins. Earlier, he substituted for Shaquille O'Neal, going with Jeff Turner. And Turner was able to score from the outside. Foul is called on Rollins.
Well, before Shaq went out with that 4th personal foul, the Magic, obviously, they're going to go to Shaquille O'Neal 2 or 3 out of 4 times anyway, but trying to get that 4th foul on Smits before they got it on Shaq. And now with Tree Rollins in there, Rick Smits can't necessarily rest on defense, but he doesn't have to be concerned about the scoring of Tree Rollins, whereas Jeff Turner, when he is on the floor, and as hot as he was in the first half, setting those little screen and spot-up situations, very difficult cover for a guy Rick Smits' size.
Turner does have 3 fouls. Perhaps that is the reason we're seeing the 39-year-old Tree Rollins on the floor. Off the good play of Turner in the first half. The game is tied at 64. A desperation game for the Pacers, trying to get back into the series, trailing 2-0, traveling violation. Dennis Scott trying to back up for position, called for steps.
Well, that point you made, Marv, about maybe because Jeff Turner has 3, but also Rick Smits has it going right now. You need the bigger defender. Plus, the Pacers have more of a mindset to drive the ball in the basket, and Rollins can stop some of those plays.
McKee. Oh, Derek McKee hitting the 3. And now with a nice move to his left to hit the jumper from the foul line, and the Pacers are up 66-64.
And the crowd now starting to get into it.
Hardaway for 3. Penny Hardaway providing the Magic with a 1-point lead.
That silences the crowd very quickly. Horace Grant has been trying to cover McKee throughout this whole series, and he gives him problems because Derek McKee can go pretty out on the floor.
And a foul on Scott. Again, Miller taking it to the hoop. And he will go to the line. Correction, it's Grant, who apparently got to Miller before Scott, and Horace is hit with his 3rd. We'll get another look at it.
Reggie Miller, again, with the Tree Rollins stepping wide up. Nick Anderson unable to force Miller to the top, as Miller just trying to draw the contact. It could have been Scott, it could have been Grant. They chose Horace.
The NBA on NBC is brought to you by Microsoft, the leader in software. Where do you want to go today? By McDonald's, the official break of the NBA. Have you had your break today? And by GMC Truck, the strength of experience.
Marvin Shot back at Market Square Arena, and there was a little bit of a controversy earlier in the first half about these spinning wheels. Now, I talked to the official, Billy Oates, and he said that there is no directive from the league about spinning wheels here. And it said it's up to the people here in the stadium to decide what they want to do. Now, I talked to some stadium officials, and they also said that, well, in Orlando, they play She's a Brick House very loud when the opposing team is out the foul line, so they figured a little spinning wheel had never hurt nobody. And I hope none of you people have been watching this spinning wheel as it spins, because it could cause problems. Marv?
Matt, don't you find that Ahmad has that dizzying effect on people? I find that after all his reports.
Mesmerizing. Referee Hugh Hollins was telling me in the first half that as long as they're up in the stands, there's nothing the officials can do about it. If they were directly behind the glass backboard or just to the right or left, then they could rule them to take them out.
Well, that was the point that Larry Brown was attempting to make in very delicate fashion to Horace Grant in the midst of the controversy that we showed you earlier. Pacers lead 68-67. 6.5 remaining in the 3rd. Hardaway for 3. Yes. That's his 3rd of the day, his 2nd in a row. 18 points for Penny Hardaway. And the Magic leading by 2.
Just what you would expect from a star player like Penny Hardaway, with Shaquille O'Neal on the bench with 4 personal fouls. Hardaway will look to pick up that slack.
Shot clock at 5. Jackson for 3. Back comes Orlando. Scott spotting up. And here's Jackson with Miller. Pulls up for 3. He had the 2-on-1. But that looked to be out of the ABA days of the Indiana Pacers.
And that's the way they play in Europe. But Reggie knew with Tree Rollins underneath the basket, nothing good was going to come of that. He just wanted to launch the 3. I don't know how happy Larry Brown was with it, but I'm sure he's happy it went in.
And Horace Grant comes right back for Orlando to give the Magic a 72-71 lead. 5.5 remaining. 3rd quarter. It has been a shootout. Orlando 10 of 17 from downtown. Derek Davis has knocked away, and a foul is called.
Well, the 2-on fast break being set up. Mark Jackson wanted to give it up right away to Reggie, thinking he would drive it and maybe throw it back to him, although I'm sure Mark Jackson would rather get the assist, and Reggie Miller had it in his mind all the way, pull up beyond the three-point line.
And a loose ball foul was called on Tree Rollins. A long discussion between the officials, and then the foul call. So Tree has collected 2. Orlando with a 72-71 lead. Miller for 3. Again, a loose ball foul. And again, it's against the Magic. It's on Scott.
Well, ever since the series started, Brian Hill wanted to have the matchup Dennis Scott guarding Dale Davis, mainly because Dale Davis is still bothered by that shoulder problem, although he played very well at the end of the New York series. But figuring that he'd rather have the Pacers maybe run some post-ups for Dale Davis. But right now, Dale Davis hurting Dennis Scott in on the offensive boards. Dennis just not strong enough to keep Big Dale out of there.
Workman is back, replacing Jackson. Orlando over the limit. Indiana with only 1 team foul. And Dale Davis 4 of 7 at the line. He has 10 points. The game is tied at 72.
Well, Workman and Jackson have been on a little bit of a string in the first 6 minutes of this third quarter. But right now, I think Larry Brown senses that Hardaway wants to take over, putting the better defender, Workman, in the ballgame to check him.
Although Workman got caught on a switch and tangling with Grant. Illegal defense against the Pacers. And a technical foul will be taken by the Magic.
Screen roll situation, and Haywood Workman tried to go 4 deep underneath it and try to get out there, but with Horace Grant sliding down, that just took Workman out of that play completely and made him switch on it. And then Haywood Workman, guilty of the illegal defense as he was on the weak side, got caught down in the lane.
Dennis Scott hitting the technical to give the Magic a 1-point lead. Just under 5 minutes remaining in the third quarter. Pushing foul against the Pacers. It's on Mitchell. Orlando has dropped 6 straight games here at Market Square Arena, including last year's playoff clincher. The Magic have not won here in Indianapolis since November 27th, 1992. In lifetime, they have won only 2 of 11 here at Market Square. And the hustle appreciated. Haywood Workman hearing it from the crowd, but Orlando will maintain possession.
Well, you could just imagine what Larry Brown was talking to his team about at halftime about here's the Magic shooting 64%. Hey, guys, we have to do something. They have become much more physical defensively, but a beautiful move inside by Penny Hardaway. Off the nice pass from Grant.
And Hardaway 6 of 7 from the field. He has taken over offensively. 20 points for Hardaway. Magic 75, Pacers 72. Smith's getting position on Rollins and draws the foul.
Well, Penny Hardaway has been running this, what we call a UCLA cut, to get down in the post, and caught Haywood Workman fronting him on the previous play, anticipated that he would do it again, just rode him up the lane another step or 2, and the quick spin and the perfect pass from Horace Grant. And Rick Smith is doing a terrific job now of coming across the lane and stopping with 2 feet in that blue painted area, because he realizes now that he can get that position pretty much anytime he wants, because if the big player, whether it's O'Neal Rollins or anybody else, tries to shove him out, the officials are going to call a foul.
15 for Smith. The Orlando lead is 2. We've been close right throughout at one stretch. Indiana led by as many as 9. Hardaway complaining that he's being fouled by Workman. And the foul is called an offensive foul against Orlando. That is number 4 on Rollins.
And that was all going on off the ball. Penny Hardaway upset with referee Eddie Russ, saying that Haywood Workman is hand-checking, or not hand-checking him, he's forearm checking him. And of course, it's all right if you don't extend your arm, but Haywood Workman gave Penny Hardaway fits in last year's 3-game, what turned out to be the 3-game series.
That turned out to be one of the major factors the work of Haywood Workman against Penny Hardaway. Rick Smits has tied the game at 75. So Rick Smits with a strong effort here today. 6 of 8 from the field, 17 points in all. And a pushing foul against Mitchell of Indiana. That's his third. And the call's getting very tight here in the third quarter.
That's what I mean about the Pacers becoming much more aggressive, being more physical with their hands, little pushes and shoves. That was just a little love tap in the back of Horace Grant. There had been much more contact other than that.
Crowd chanting defense. Capacity crowd of 16,000 at Market Square Arena. Hardaway for three. One of the rare misses this afternoon for Anthony Hardaway. Workman on a change of pace. That's the foul. That's number 5 on Rollins. Rollins may foul out within the third quarter.
Penny Hardaway, I think, was a little upset with himself for taking that last 3, even though he made 2 previous to that and was thinking about it when he came back on defense and once again stood up defensively and was beaten on dribble penetration by Haywood Workman. Brian Hill, I think, was upset with the fact that Penny took that 3 as well. I don't think he minds him taking the spot-up 3 that once the ball goes inside or a pass is made, but off the dribble, off that high screen roll situation, that shot has to go down for it to be a good one.
Well, Tree Rollins has been a minute man here in the third. He's played 5 minutes, collected 5 personal fouls, sitting down, replaced by Jeff Turner. You see Rick Smits getting a rest. 9 of his 17 coming here in the third quarter, and the Pacers have taken a 77-75 lead.
And with Turner coming in, Larry Brown wanted to give Smits a rest anyway, but Rick Smits had all kinds of problems trying to watch Jeff Turner in that second quarter.
Matchup is now Mitchell defending against Turner. Shot clock at 3. Anderson gets it off. Just to beat the 24, but he had to rush the shot.
Terrific defensive rotation that time by the Pacers. Every man on the string, the best in the series.
Derek McKee getting excellent position, and he's given Indiana a 79-75 lead. Orlando calling for time with 2:31 remaining in the third.
This is the best defensive rotation by the Pacers in this series, and the reason for it, everybody has their knees bent. Everybody moving in unison, as if on a string, and what it does is effectively shut down a good shot opportunity for the Orlando Magic. And Larry Brown telling his team in that last timeout, no more switches. Stay with your own man. We're getting burned by too many of them.
Indiana with a 7-0 run to lead by 4. 2:25 remaining. Third quarter. Marv Albert, Matt Dukas, and Ahmad Rashad from Indianapolis. They double up on Anderson momentarily. Shot clock down to 6. The excellent defensive play continues, and Hardaway was able to spring free. Indiana thought they had won that sequence defensively. The shot clock was down to 2.
Just by Penny Hardaway constantly moving without the ball, and Haywood Workman getting caught looking around. That was a problem.
Pacers lead by 2. Workman.
Yes.
Haywood Workman. Only 1 of 5 from the field in game 2 and missed a couple of important wide open shots late in the game. Orlando presenting him with the open jump shot. Indiana leads by 4. Scott passing on the 3. Not able to hit the 2. Rebounded by Mitchell. Miller. Recovered by McKee. Miller for 3. Block. Grant got a piece of it. And Turner with the save. A minute left. Third quarter. Grant for Hardaway, and he's fouled. Took a good pop from Mitchell. That's 4 on Sam Mitchell.
Let's take a look at the player. Nick Anderson has the ball. Double team action here, but Haywood Workman, the man on the weak side defensively over here, going to lose vision of man and ball, and Penny Hardaway keeps moving to help Nick Anderson out, who was in trouble. Haywood looked the wrong way, lost Hardaway, and the easy lay-in.
Hardaway 5 of 6 at the line. He has 23 points, 11 of the 23 here in the third quarter. He has taken over the offense with Shaquille O'Neal sitting down after picking up his 4th foul. And we have seen this on a number of occasions during the season. Hardaway able to step it up offensively.
He loves these opportunities, but he also has the ability to shift gears. When Shaq comes back in, he'll become more of a playmaker.
81-79, Indiana. 45 seconds remaining in the third. Antonio Davis for Derek McKee, and rebounded by Brian Shaw. Hardaway. Thought he had the step, and then lost the grip and threw it away.
First of all, a good defensive play by Reggie Miller, as Shaw and Hardaway like to run that backdoor lob play in transition, and Reggie Miller, now having played the Magic so much now, 2 3/4 games, aware of what's going to happen when Brian Shaw comes in the game. That's a big difference in the playoffs. You are so much more prepared for the team that you're playing because you're watching tape constantly and you know each player's individual tendencies.
20 seconds remaining in the quarter. 5-second differential between the game clock and shot clock. Indiana ball, they're up by 2. Miller was out of control as he tried to take it to the basket, and a foul has been called. Miller thought he was tripped up. Foul's called on Miller, his 2nd.
Well, Reggie actually gets himself caught off balance here, trying to penetrate. Brian Shaw on him right now, a good defensive player, and Reggie has made a couple of field goals like this, but never really got his feet set, lost his balance, and then going to reach in and grab Horace Grant by the leg to send Horace to the free throw line.
Yes, both teams over the foul limit, so Grant to the line for the first time. 9 5/10 seconds remaining in this third quarter.
I think Brian Hill has to be reasonably happy at this point that they have taken a couple of runs by the Indiana Pacers. Shaquille O'Neal in some kind of foul trouble with 4 and has to sit out much of this third quarter, and still right in this ballgame.
Hill trying to get Donald Royal back on the floor. Horace Grant a 69% free throw shooter in the regular season. 1 point, Pacer lead. Final seconds of the third. Jackson pushes it off for Antonio Davis. I don't think that was the intended play. He did not realize it was Antonio Davis out on the wing, but Indiana fortunate because a foul was called on Shaw.
Actually, the play was a pin down for Reggie Miller coming out to the three-point line, and as that was occurring, Mark Jackson decided to cross over, penetrate into the lane, got caught in the air, and never really could find Reggie. And the first white shirt he saw was Antonio Davis, who was not expecting that pass.
Antonio is 3 of 4 at the line. Only 9/10 of a second remaining in the third. Both clubs continue to shuffle. Antonio Davis, a second-round pick of Indiana back in 1990, but decided to play in Europe for 3 years, which really helped his game. After 3 quarters, the Indiana Pacers try to stay alive, looking to cut it to a 2-1 lead in this best of 7, have an 82-80 advantage over the Orlando Magic. We'll be back here in Indianapolis after these messages and a word from your local station.
This copyrighted telecast of the National Basketball Association may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of the NBA.
Well, this is a big sports weekend here in Indianapolis. The Pacers right smack in the middle of the playoffs. Tomorrow, the 79th running of the Indianapolis 500 at the Motor Speedway track. As we head to the fourth quarter, Indiana leading by 2. They've led by as many as 9, and this has certainly been a series for the shot from downtown.
And shooting such a terrific percentage, the Orlando Magic, although in game 2 in the fourth quarter, at one point they were 0 for 8 from the three-point arc. Still shot a good percentage until Nick Anderson hit that final three, the clincher, which has 14 seconds to go in the game.
Orlando 10 of 18 in three-point shooting here today. Indiana 5 of 15. Pacer ball as we get started in the fourth quarter. Smits facing the double team. Shaquille O'Neal is back. He's playing with 4. Rick Smits has 3 fouls. And the call away from the ball. It's a 3-second violation.
On Dale Davis, who was expecting a shot to go up, trying to sneak in on the offensive board. The Magic are obviously staying in this game with the three-pointer, doing a lot of damage, and the Pacers are doing it primarily from the free throw line.
Shaquille O'Neal with the spin and draws the foul. Beautiful fake against Rick Smits. And that is number 4 on Lou Smits. Shaquille sat out the last 8 minutes after picking up his 4th. And now he'll go to the line. He's 1 of 2 at the line. We touched on it earlier, the fact that he has improved his free throw shooting during the playoffs. Matt, do you feel that it's circumstantial, or I know you mentioned all the hard work, but how do you attribute the improvement at the line?
Well, I spoke with his shooting coach before the game, Buzz Brayman, who told me that one of the big areas that he was able to change in that 5-day period before the playoffs started was the grip. And I guess in any kind of sport, once you get that feel, it's a bit of a confidence builder, so he just feels much better at the line.
Rick Smits filling it from the outside. He is 19. He had the big third quarter. Indiana 84. Orlando 81. Deflected out by Smits. Smits is 4 of 4 from the field in the second half.
Zach does such an effective job. When the ball goes in the post and he kicks it right back out to the corner, he reposts and really puts a tremendous amount of pressure on that defensive player. And the tendency should be to try to get around in front.
O'Neal. And now handled by Jackson. Bothered from behind by Anderson. Got a piece of it. And Shaw pops it down. Mark Jackson had it knocked away by Nick Anderson. And it led to the stuff by Shaquille.
That happened in game 2 as well. Shaq not getting back on defense, but an earned play by the Pacers. Jackson just trying to do too much.
Oh, Smits missing on the stuff. Pacers lead by 1. There's Scott for 3. And back comes Indiana, but Orlando able to make it back on the transition.
Now, this is a situation where the Pacers don't even want to think about running. Nobody was out in the lanes. The Magic are back reasonably well on defense, and that's the kind of play they want to get. Dump it into the post and see what happens, and Dale Davis gets an easy post-up position.
Dale Davis with 12. He's had a solid game. Indiana leading 86-83. Brian Shaw, played by Mark Jackson. Shaw for O'Neal. And the call against the Magic. Again, a traveling violation. 9:49 remaining in the fourth. And a timeout is taken.
Akeem and the Rockets, the Admiral and the Spurs. Game 4 Sunday.
Miller Genuine Draft presents Genuine Moments.
Today we go back to the Pacers Magic Game 3 of last year's first-round playoffs. And Reggie Miller provided the spark. 31 points for Miller in front of the hometown crowd, leading the Pacers to a 99-86 victory in a 3-game sweep over the Magic. In recognition of this moment, Miller Genuine Draft will donate $1,000 to the Thurgood Marshall Scholarship Fund. The Orlando Magic swept in the first round of the playoffs after all the success they had in the regular season a year ago, but it has been a different story this season. Knocking off the Celtics in the first round, although it was not easy. Shaquille knocked it away. Smith thought he was fouled. And then Orlando beat Chicago impressively in 6, and they've won the first 2 games of this series. Brian Shaw on a pull-up. 1 count.
Well, a big turnaround here as the crowd voices their disapproval on an in, out, in again to Smits. Clearly getting hacked across the wrist by Shaquille O'Neal, who may have gotten away with an offensive foul on that play they called walking.
Yes, a traveling violation also on Shaw, giving the ball back to Indiana. That's a critical turnaround as Derek McKee was able to knock down a 3, his second from downtown. 18 for McKee. O'Neal for Turner, blocked by Davis. O'Neal coming right back. And the Pacers now lead 89-85 with 8:45 to go in the 4th.
And all of a sudden, they're letting the big men play inside. Both centers looking to the officials for some whistles, which were called quite a bit in the early part of the game. Now it's silence.
And both centers playing with 4 fouls. Here's Scott for 3, way off, an air ball by Byron Scott.
There's Shaq getting inside and powering through 2-3 Pacers here, trying to get up, and leaves nicely for Turner. Davis on the block. Shaq again felt he got hit on the top of the head as he barks at the official.
O'Neal throwing it back out. And Dennis Scott hits the 3. That's his 4th from downtown. 15 for Scott. And Orlando within 1. 4 minutes gone by in the 4th quarter. Byron Scott for Derek McKee, backing to 3-point territory. And a loose ball foul. It's on. It's on Smits, number 5.
Well, Derek McKee had to look down and check where he was in relation to the 3-point line when he released his shot. And now Smits and Shaquille O'Neal battling for position here as we get a look from the other angle. And first, the grab by Smits was the first foul. That evidently was the one that was called. But both centers have to be a little bit confused right now as to what is going to be called and what is not. Antonio Davis in for Smits.
Antonio Davis now in a position of trying to defend the powerful Shaquille O'Neal. A new 24 for the Magic. Hardaway not able to hit the 3. Antonio Davis able to pull it down. Here comes Jackson. And a 3-on-2. Orlando able to hustle back. Antonio Davis with the offensive foul. It's a charge on Davis.
Again, Mark Jackson just a little bit out of control, not really sure of who he had on either side of him, giving it to Antonio Davis in a difficult spot on the floor for a big man like Antonio to deal with it, and Hardaway stepping up and taking the charge.
And Reggie Miller back on the floor, replacing Byron Scott. Indiana 89, Orlando 88. 7 minutes to go in the 4th. Pitches it back out. Here is Grant. It's being waved off. 3-second violation on the Magic. And Larry Brown calling for time. The Pacers by 1. We'll be back in Indianapolis in a moment.
NBA on NBC is brought to you by Reebok. Come see how the game is played on Planet Reebok. By KFC. For everything a meal should be, everybody needs a little KFC. And by Miller Lite. When you've got the great taste of an ice-cold Miller Lite, life is good.
Well, the Western Conference Finals will continue tomorrow with Game 4 of the best-of-7 series between the Houston Rockets and San Antonio Spurs. The battle of big men continues. Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson going head-to-head with the Rockets, now leading the series 2-1. You can catch it all right here on NBC, starting at 3 o'clock Eastern with NBA Showtime. That is tomorrow. San Antonio coming back with the victory at the Summit. In Houston last night, outstanding game for Avery Johnson, 20 points, 13 assists. Vinny Del Negro also coming through with an excellent outing. Hakeem with 41, but did not get much help.
How well is he playing? David Robinson, the MVP in the league, is looking around and saying, what kind of buzzsaw is this man?
6:45 remaining in this fourth quarter. Beautiful move by Derek McKee. Larry Brown during the course of the season and then in the earlier round against the Knicks looking for more offense from Derek McKee. Well, he has received it today. 20 points. That's his high for the playoffs this season. Good hustle. Mark Jackson able to break it up.
Well, the Pacers trying to get a low post presence with Smits on the bench with 5 and Horace Grant, second team all defensive, as is McKee, having all kinds of problems in this series with Derek McKee, who at times is a reluctant offensive player, but not so far in these 3 games.
Shaquille O'Neal backing his way, but could not put it down. Last touch by the Magic. Orlando looking for Shaquille to keep going at the 6'9" Antonio Davis. Rick Smith sitting down after picking up his 5th. Pacers by 3. They double up on McKee. Shot clock at 6. Jackson. That was deflected. And Anderson hit by McKee. McKee called for his 4th.
And a smart foul, though, by Derek McKee, as the Pacers were all out of whack as far as court balance was concerned and getting back for transition defense. And McKee knew it and just grabbed Nick Anderson to prevent the fast break opportunity. And as the Pacers try to go into a low post right now, they really only have one shooter on the floor, Reggie Miller, that you would really count on. Derek McKee can make some, and Mark Jackson can make some, but you're not going to look for a lot of perimeter shots from those 2.
Indiana with its 13th foul. Orlando does not have any. Here's Shaquille again. Well, he certainly had the moves and the steps, but not able to hit against Antonio Davis. Miller, played by Scott, looking for the shot, and again called for traveling.
Good defense by Dennis Scott to make sure that he kept Reggie Miller in front of him, knowing that Reggie can always step back and take that 3. That left foot, once again, Reggie picked it up for the 2nd walking violation on the same type of move.
And the Pacers with a 6th turnover in the 4th quarter. Orlando not shooting well here in the 4th. 3 of 11 from the field. Hardaway, he got the step. Rebounded by Antonio Davis. Jackson was fouled by Hardaway. Jackson was trying to elude Hardaway and caught him with his hip.
Well, the Magic are getting some good shot opportunities, but only getting one shot chance as the ball kicked out there to Mark Jackson, who, again, this time I think Hardaway realized that it was a fast break opportunity for Indiana. Better stop the play, although he's a little puzzled by the call.
That's the 3rd on Hardaway, only the 1st team foul for the Magic. Just under 5 minutes remaining, 4th quarter. Indiana leads 91. Foul on the Magic. Miller's shot was blocked by Grant. And the ball will go to the Magic.
And Reggie Miller barking at referee Billy Oakes, saying when he came off that screen roll situation that he felt Shaquille O'Neal stepped out and bumped him, and no call. Reggie keeps going on the play. That would have been not the foul there. It was before that. But that shot blocked by Horace Grant, and then Reggie Miller right in the face of Bill Oakes, and very fortunate did not get a technical foul.
And unhappy because the foul was called on Dale Davis. 3-point Indiana lead. Pacers looking for their first win of this series. Orlando trying to go up 3-0. Hardaway. Orlando has missed its last 6 shots. Jackson pushing it down. Finding Miller. Eluding Grant for 3. Rebounded by Antonio Davis. Finding Reggie Miller, and he's fouled. Foul on Scott.
Everybody looking around. Dennis Scott putting his hand up. Here's Reggie Miller on the cut. And, yeah, I think Dennis Scott got him first, but Dennis, by putting the hand up there like he doth protest too much, kind of made the officials wonder if they had the right man, because the crowd and everybody else wanted Shaquille O'Neal to pick up that foul.
Well, Reggie Miller able to hit the first free throw. Neither club had scored a point the last 2.5 minutes.
And the Magic are getting good shot opportunities, and I think Brian Hill may need a timeout right now, because Shaquille O'Neal, Horace Grant are going to have to assert themselves on the offensive board on these missed shots. They are two outstanding offensive rebounders.
Indiana by 5. They are on their feet at Market Square Arena. Things have turned for the Magic. Not shooting over the first 3 quarters. Cooling down here in the 4th. Shot clock at 4. Here's Grant. Try to bank it. And the foul on Anderson. Brian Hill looking for a timeout. Orlando has 3 and a 20 remaining. Indiana with 4 and a 20. Third team foul against the Magic. The Pacers have 4, and now the timeout is granted. 3:47 remaining in the 4th. The Pacers 93, the Magic 88. We'll be back in a moment.
You're watching the NBA playoffs on NBC.
On this last foul, when Nick Anderson pushes the man out of bounds, Haywood Workman over here on the bench is going to come out to congratulate his teammates, and everybody a little bit puzzled on why he is coming out there. But he is over-exuberant. Billy Oakes says, out of here. Reggie Miller says, go. And then the coaching staff says, take your seat, young man.
Is that what they said? Take your seat, young man. Let's find out more on that subject. Here's Ahmad.
Well, Mark, not only did he say take your seat, but he was also informing Haywood Workman that was a technical for him to leave the bench. Mark?
All right, Orlando has missed its last 7 shots. They've got 4.5 minutes without a field goal. Only 3 of 14 from the floor in this 4th quarter. And a 3-second violation is called against the Pacers. So the Magic getting it back. Indiana leading 93-88. 3.5 minutes to go in this 4th quarter. The Pacers with their 7th turnover this quarter. Larry Brown staying with Antonio Davis rather than Rick Spence, who's on the bench with 5 fouls. Davis has done a great job off the board. He has 9 rebounds. Anderson for 3. Nick Anderson, who hit the clutch 3-pointer the other night in Game 2. Hits a big one right here to bring the Magic within 2.
Very patient offense as Shaq got it out of the double team, and then both Shaquille and Horace Grant curling in and climbing, ready to climb all over the offensive glass.
Jackson with the step. Met by O'Neal, who altered the shot. Hardaway feeding Anderson for 3. And handled by Antonio Davis. Here's Miller passing on the 3, shooting the 2. The Pacers 95, the Magic 91.
You're right, Mark. Reggie was thinking 3 all the way, and then I think he was a little concerned about his feet. That's why, because he's had a couple of walking violations, I was surprised he made that tough shot off the glass.
2:20 remaining in the 4th. O'Neal had to throw it out. Played well by Davis. Anderson, that's 2-point range, and batted out of bounds. Last touch by Orlando.
Once again, a good look for Nick Anderson, and Shaquille reeling in, not taking any chances, and in fact, with the way that the Magic are shooting right now, has to anticipate and expect every shot to be a miss, as well as Horace Grant coming in on the offensive board.
Rick Spence getting set to report back in with 2 minutes remaining in the 4th. Indiana by 4. And it's popped by Jackson. And that's a 24-second violation. He knew the shot clock was was running down. He tried to get rid of it as quickly as possible, but the ball did not hit the rim.
Well, just a very tentative sequence for Indiana that time. Very cautious, not wanting to take a bad shot, and really did not have good spacing on the floor and not a driving opportunity for Derek McKey there, and that's why they had the 24-second violation.
8 turnovers for the Pacers in the fourth. 8 of their 18. Timeout taken. 1:43 remaining. Well, the first 2 games of this series have been tight ones. Game 1, as we look back, saw the Pacers take the 23-5 lead at the start, but behind the play of Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway, the Magic won it 105-101. Game 2, Orlando hitting 12 3-point shots, and the big guy, Shaquille O'Neal, with 39 points in the 119-114 victory. And in today's Game 3, a moment ago, significant field goal by Reggie Miller, thinking 3, and then changed his mind. Got the step around Dennis Scott and winked for the 2. Still much time remaining. 1:43 left in this fourth quarter, but Indiana with a 95-91 lead as they seek to get back into this series, hoping to send it to a Game 4 down 2 games to 1. Orlando trying to go up 3-0. Here's Anderson. Another clutch shot for Nick Anderson. It's a 2-point Indiana lead.
And that was almost a bad pass by Penny Hardaway, as I think he was trying to throw that to Horace Grant and went by him to the unsuspecting Nick Anderson.
Antonio Davis. Mark Jackson with the open shot. Rebound. Antonio Davis lands on his back and called for time. Antonio Davis shaken up. Antonio has made it back from back surgery. He was out earlier this season.
Well, the Magic in a double-team situation here as Mark Jackson tries to aim this shot, and when you are double-teaming, you become very vulnerable on that offensive board. And Dale Davis, who has been working hard all day long, up high, got his feet taken out from under him, and he falls hard. I'm sure it's Antonio Davis, and still, as he cracked hard to the floor, alert enough, and I don't think he called the 20. I think it was one of the other players underneath the basket who called for that 20-second timeout. Big rebounding edge in this game for Indiana, 36-25.
And that was rebounded number 10 for Antonio Davis. A reminder tonight at 8, 7 Central, Christopher Lloyd and Hulk Hogan star in the Saturday night movie Suburban Commando. And then it's the American Film Institute salute to Steven Spielberg. Both tonight, starting at 8, 7 Central, right here on NBC. 15 remaining on the 24 for this possession. And Hugh Hollins blowing the whistle, calling illegal defense. Enormous break for the Pacers. A free throw on the technical awarded. Reggie Miller will go to the line, and Indiana will get a new 24 with 1:06 remaining in the fourth.
And Nick Anderson can't believe that they were calling it on him. He was the man who went down and double-teamed on Rick Smits.
We saw Antonio Davis land on his back in coming up with that key rebound a moment ago. Looked like he also made contact with his elbow hitting the floor, and Ahmad Rashad just checked over the bench and said it's a bruised elbow. And actually both elbows are bruised, but he's sitting down. Dale Davis is back on. Here's McKee. There's McKee providing much offense this afternoon. He has 22. Pacers lead 98-93. Hardaway trying to spin Jackson, who did not go for it. Shaquille O'Neal getting position, gave it up. Horace Grant bringing the Magic within 3. 38 seconds to go in the fourth. Trouble on the inbound, stolen by Hardaway. Here's Scott, passed on the 3. Anderson in three-point territory. Scott for 3. Oh, and Scott makes contact with Miller, and a foul is called. Dennis Scott trying to tie it with a three-pointer. And that is called for the foul. That is his 4th.
Well, Derek McKee in trouble on underneath out of bounds. He has the ability there to run the baseline. And with that big target, Rick Smits, he should run a little bit to his left and throw it higher. And after that wide open look by Dennis Scott, who will never get a wider look on the three, going for that loose rebound, popped Reggie Miller.
Scott now 4 of 10 from downtown. Both clubs with 14 fouls. The next one puts them over the limit. And Jackson draws the foul, and he will now go to the line. Orlando with his 15th foul. 24 and 3/10 seconds to go in the fourth quarter. Indiana leading 98-95, and Mark Jackson will go to the line for the first time today. Jackson, a 78% free throw shooter. Indiana 26 of 33 at the line.
Mark Jackson not getting that much involved in the scoring area. Overall has played a good floor game. The ball has been in his hands quite a bit, had some mistakes on fast break situations, but I think Larry Brown and the coaching staff of Indiana would be most happy in Mark's game is better defensive pressure, in particular at the beginning of the ball game, and that has been key for Indiana throughout this particular game.
And Mark Jackson with 13 assists and 11 in the first half. So Jackson hits the 2 critical free throws. Indiana leads by 5. Orlando calling for time.
I could help.
Indiana by 5, 24 and 3/10 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter. As we discussed earlier, only 7 teams in NBA history have come back from a 2-0 deficit to win a best-of-7 series. No team has ever come back from 3-0, and Indiana does not want to be put in that position, hoping that it will be a 2-1 situation when Game 4 rolls around on Monday here at Market Square. Orlando only 6 of 20 from the field in the fourth quarter. And the big miss, Dennis Scott, an opportunity with that three-pointer, open three-pointer, could have tied it. A traveling violation is called.
And Nick Anderson, the guilty party there, he didn't think he did it, or maybe it was Dennis Scott. They looked confused, trying to run a little bit of a weave situation. Dennis Scott, oh yeah, Dennis Scott picked him up and laid him down. He was the one who just lost his balance and lifted his foot. We saw that happen to Reggie Miller a couple of times. Not so much that he lost his balance. He was just trying to get an advantage earlier in the game.
Orlando has 1 conventional timeout and a 20 remaining. Indiana with 3 left. Pacers just hope to run the clock down. Another foul by Hardaway with 14 and 6/10 seconds to go.
And Larry Brown alertly got his better free throw shooters on the floor for that situation. Both Dale and Antonio Davis quickly to the bench. They are not good foul shooters.
And Reggie Miller to the line. He is 7 for 7 at the line. Just under 90% during the regular season. Pacers 101. The Magic 95.
I would think Larry Brown's still not particularly happy with the pace of this ballgame, despite the fact that it looks like they'll hold the Magic under 100 points. But that was mainly because of that ice-cold spell midway through, and even now in the fourth quarter, where they just could not make a shot, could not get a second shot. So the Pacers still have to make some adjustments in that area.
Well, Indiana did it a better job in the second half. And you mentioned that the cold spell. Orlando went some 4.5 minutes without a field goal at one stretch. 14 and 6/10 seconds remaining in the fourth. We'll be back after this from your local station. Well, Orlando is headed for its 7th straight loss here at Market Square Arena. They have been a very good road club. Orlando has in the playoffs. As we head to game number 4 on Monday, Hardaway fires fires and is able to bank home the three. It's down to a 4-point lead, 102-98 with 11 3/10 seconds remaining, and immediately a holding foul was called on the inbound. So that stops the clock.
I'm not really sure Penny Hardaway intended to kiss this off the glass, but good execution on the pass and catch, and Hardaway lets it fly, hit the top of the square and fell in, as we have seen a lot of crazy things happen coming down the closing seconds of playoff games.
Hardaway 4 of 7 from downtown, and Orlando 13 of 25 in the three-point department. Here's Mark Jackson to the line again. He's now 3 of 3 at the line, and Indiana cashing in at the foul line in the fourth quarter. They've hit all 8 of their attempts.
And it was a big part of their whole effort this whole game, getting to the foul line, and they needed it because the Magic had the lion's share of the edge in the three-point shooting.
Orlando using its final timeout, taking the 20. It's a 5-point Indiana lead. Well, the NBA action continues tomorrow here on NBC, 3 o'clock Eastern. Game 4 between David Robinson and the Spurs, Hakeem Olajuwon and his Rockets, and we'll be right back at you Monday afternoon. Game 4 from Indianapolis. The Orlando Magic and the Indiana Pacers continuing the series. 4-point lead, 11 3/10 seconds to go in this fourth, and the Magic using its final timeout.
And a 20-second timeout, and all teams have plays for these situations, but Brian Hill just wanting to make sure everybody on the same page, what they're going to run in here, probably some kind of high screen situation or stagger for a three-point shot. And I'm sure Larry Brown telling his team during that 20-second timeout, switch on everything, try to deny the basketball.
It's been an outstanding all-around game for Mark Jackson. 7 points, 6 rebounds, 13 assists. Reggie Miller leading the Pacers with 26. Anthony Hardaway 27 for the Magic. There's Hardaway. 5 seconds remaining again for 3. Handled by Workman. And a foul is called. Foul on the Pacers. It's on McKee.
And one other thing I'm sure Larry Brown said in that timeout, no fouls, let alone this. A 3-shot opportunity, and had this gone in and the foul. And a big reason why that was an air ball coming up way up short, as Derek McKee had the arm straight up, and as it came down, he evidently caught Penny Hardaway on the elbow.
So it is on McKee, his 5th. And 3 shots coming up, plus the clock is stopped. 4 2/10 seconds remaining. It is only a 5-point lead. A lot of funny things can happen at Orlando. Well, that's a crucial miss. Orlando needed the 3 at the line. They do not have any timeouts remaining.
Reggie Miller has been barking right in the face of Anthony Hardaway since he missed that free throw, and you can only imagine what Reggie is talking about.
Hardaway is 7 of 9 at the line. And Hardaway a 77% free throw shooter. It's now down to 4. You miss on purpose here, man?
No percentage. You make it, and then you have to go steal or foul.
All right, it's down to 3. 4 2/10 seconds to go. And Shaw with the immediate foul on Jackson. It cut about a second off, so 3 3/10 seconds remaining.
And Larry Brown, a little bit of a gamble there, letting his team take the ball out of bounds in the full court. Now, in some respects, you have more room to work, and you have more options to throw the ball in, because sometimes that habit, by taking the timeout, advancing to half court, that can sometimes be a more difficult play. But if you make a mistake, trip, fumble the ball, as we saw the New York Knicks do in Game 1 of the Pacers series, that ball pops out, and who knows what can happen. So a gamble there, but so far paid off for Indiana.
Jackson 3 of 4 at the line. All here in the fourth quarter. Pacers lead by 4.
so much for holding the Magic under 100.
3 3/10 seconds to go. No timeouts left. And here's Shaw popping it down to Scott for 3, and that will do it. The Indiana Pacers over the Orlando Magic 105-100 to get back into the series after Orlando won the first 2 in Orlando. Let's go to Ahmad Rashad with Reggie Miller. Ahmad?
All right, thanks, Mark. Reggie, I just think that you guys are not comfortable unless you do things the hard way.
Well, we got off to a slow start in this series. We felt we at least could have won 1 down in Orlando, but you got to give them credit. They were making all their shots in game 1 and 2. We didn't play particularly well in this game, but I think it really showed the heart and soul of the team to come back, especially in the second half. And we got some big stops. We did a good job on the big fella, and that was 2-1, and we got to get another one on Monday.
All right, we'll tee it up on Monday, and we'll see you then.
Sounds good, Ahmad.
All right, back to you, Marv.
All right, 26 points for Reggie Miller. Orlando now leading this best of 7, 2 games to 1. Indiana with the 105-100 win. NBA playoffs on NBC continue tomorrow with Game 4 between the Spurs and the defending champion Rockets. We'll be back with you on Monday from Market Square Arena. Game 4 between Indiana and Orlando. From Matt Dukas and Ahmad Rashad, I'm Marv Albert saying so long. This has been the NBA.
America turns for the best in sports television. NBC Sports.